Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Silver is the winner of the day by a percentage basis in terms of its performance in the markets. Is this unusual? Is this a foretaste of what's to come? Let's find out. Yes, I think that is the question of the day. Is this a foretaste of what's to come, or is this the coming attractions with regards to where silver has regained its position as a hedge alongside with gold, and will that ratio narrow between gold and silver? We'll explore some of these numbers here. As you can see, there they are. You can see the percentages. We'll take a look at this here in a moment, but let's kind of explore some of the reasoning behind it. There's a lot of different things going on with the movement of gold and silver going up today. The dollar index has hurt a little bit, but the weak German PMI numbers gave a little bit of a shock to the stock market and led investors into the safe havens such as gold and silver. This is from Philip Streibel, Senior Commodity Strategist, RJO Futures, from this article from CNBC. Gold could hit $1,550 in this supportive environment of weak interest rates, increasing geopolitical risks, no trade agreement with China, and weak data that show we are slipping into recession, Streibel added. German private sector activity shrank for the first time in 6.5 years in September as a manufacturing recession deepened unexpectedly and growth in the service sector lost momentum, while Eurozone business growth stalled, a survey showed on Monday. And they're already into quantitative easing with the ECB, the European Central Bank. Meanwhile, better than expected U.S. manufacturing PMI data helped stock markets pair some losses but failed to dent gold's upward momentum. Investors are also keeping a close eye on U.S.-China trade ties after Chinese agricultural delegation canceled their visit to U.S. farm states in the Midwest, adding to the uncertainty in the drawn-out dispute that has weighed on the global economy. I think the trade thing, you might as well just bet your bottom dollar and your top dollars that we're not going to see a deal, and they're going to have this back and forth. If anything, the lack of a trade deal or negotiation or even meeting for negotiations should be baked into these prices, and I think that's what's going to keep in part and parcel these prices up for quite a while, at least until the election is my prediction. Adding to geopolitical tensions, U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday approved sending American troops to bolster Saudi Arabia's air and missile defenses after the largest ever attack on the kingdom's oil facilities. Palladium got to a record high of $1,664.50 per ounce. The autocatalyst metal has risen nearly 8%, or about $115 so far this month. Apparently that's not enough to retool, at least that we were seeing, to retool and use platinum instead. People are starting to realize that auto sales and production outside of China is actually not so bad, and so demand from the industrial sector is stronger than what people thought, said Jeffrey Christian, managing partner of CPM Group. In addition to that, there's a lot of investors moving in that market, and in such small, illiquid market, it doesn't take a lot of investors to drive the price higher. Silver gained 3.5% to $18.61 per ounce, and platinum rose 1.8 cents. The news of the day is that silver has made the biggest move, and I think that is the key thing here. And why is that happening? Well, it's a more volatile metal in that regard. This is good and bad. That's why I asked at the beginning of this video, is it a foretaste of what is to come? And in terms of the price movement of silver here, the more it moves up the volatility of its activity, what's going to happen in the next downturn? Will it get smacked down with the biggest percent drop downwards? It very well could be. But I think this nature of its volatility proves that it has upside potential just as much as it has downside potential. The more movement we see in silver in this regard, I believe is a stand of a test of time with silver, and that it will eventually stabilize, and that we'll see new floors that we've not seen before since the housing crisis of 2007, 2008. I believe we're going to move in that direction eventually into where it will stabilize out. How long that will take, who knows? That's going to be the interesting factor to see where that plays out. Gold has moved up a little bit, $4.90, but it's not broken through really a whole lot. It is a stable asset. It is, I believe, the most stable of the precious metals, and it certainly is the case here. It's made pretty radical moves earlier, but starting to kind of level out right above that $1,500 level, or right below it for now. But I believe now we're solidly below the $1,500 level now for gold. Palladium made a big move upwards, but still, palladium and platinum both moved upwards, but still they didn't make the performance that silver did today. This is typical, I think, in a market that is on its way up, for silver to really outperform. And with this, with it being low, lower than, I think this is a proof, I believe, that silver is undervalued. And now people are starting to just realize that in the world of the exchange traded funds, and even for bullion investors. But it really won't become apparent until we see data that shows that people are actually getting the physical, or even more of the exchange traded funds. And obviously we know there's many more of these exchange traded funds than there is the silver to back it up, which I believe needs to be fixed. They need to do something about that, because really, in a sense, that is probably the biggest evidence of manipulation there could ever be out there. And they're really, probably in this day and age, there ought to be a way to tie it in, to track it, and to test it. But probably won't be tested as far as cashing that out. So where does this leave us in terms of the silver to gold ratio? We did see it tighten up below 80 relatively recently, but it moved right back up, but not to the 90 or low 90s where it was before. It is scaled back down over 3% to 81.55 to 1. That's good news. Seeing it, hopefully we'll get to the point where it does go below 80. Like it to see it to get below 70 one day. I think we're a ways off from that. It's going to teeter back and forth, I believe, for a while here. But it is exciting to see the movement of the metals, and especially silver, especially for all of my friends out there who are bullish on silver and who participated in my poll. I'll post a link to that video, by the way, if you haven't done so. I'm going to get as many votes in on that as possible to see where you think silver should be. And so that'll be at the end screen of this video, because I want to see what your report is. A lot of people feel like it should be higher than it is now. So there you have it. But today, silver wins. And we'll see where we go from here. I think it's interesting to pay attention to this news and see what's driving the markets. But really, when you really think about it, I know Tomiko's Enterprise, Dean, has said this many times, you just have to go with the flow. Don't ever let the market stress you out. We are always encouraged, and we are validated, really no matter what the price movement does, especially with silver. Silver's been criticized a lot in the last couple of years, but you know what? It is a wealth preserver. It does do what it's supposed to do in terms of being that insurance policy, that hedge against economic instability. It just that sometimes it's hard to see it when there is moments when it performs below the level of inflation. That's where it really hurts. But there are times when it goes above the level of inflation as well. Silver is a patient enterprise, holding it, enjoying it, and I think that if you do that, if you hold on to it for the long term, you'll be well served, and served just enough that you will realize that it does protect you against a falling dollar. The dollar is a depreciating asset. The dollar is strong, although not as strong today. And it obviously does have utility and use. We use it every single day. But make no mistake, it does lose at least 2% on average every year, and that's the target for the Federal Reserve. With silver, we hope it increases 2% every year. That's what we are hoping to do to balance out against the dollar. We know that gold does it, and the silver does it on an average through the long term. So there you have it. Post your thoughts about today's news, about silver being that winner of the day. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.